Does that feel crazy to even say that? Like you work for General Mills and
I
you're,
mean,
and they
yeah.
obviously are very focused on building this brand, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I still can't believe it. Sometimes I still have to like pinch myself, like, how did this even happen? Because when you go into
Yeah.
starting a business, you're not, I was definitely not thinking about selling to a brand, like a big corporation like this. Like, this is
Yeah.
insane. I was just like, let's just start an Amazon supplement brand and see where it goes. Like,
Totally.
so I think I'm still, processing the whole thing, but it's been really good.
Yeah.
What's it
Yeah.
like, Michelle, at General Mills? Like, are you guys kind of running independently still? Have they
Yeah.
brought you into the fold? What's that look like when General Mills acquires a company like yours?
And also, have you had any like funny big corporate moments where they're like, here, register for your like your employee now number 4016721 blah blah blah, like
I
all that
mean,
jazz.
yes, yes. I mean, we had to get on Teams, which I haven't been on Teams. I have a whole General Mills XID. Like, there's all this stuff. I mean, it's been crazy.
Welcome back to another episode of What Worked. We're joined by an extremely special guest, Dr. Michelle Dulake of Fera Pet Organics, Big Boss CEO, and also a friend of mine for a long time. That's why I say very, very special. So we've been begging Michelle to join the podcast. She finally relented and decided to come on and tell a little bit about her story of growing a business from literally nothing, selling it to one of the biggest companies in the world, and also raising kids in the interim, just kind of doing everything. So, Michelle, if you don't mind giving a quick introduction to our audience, who are you? What is Fera Pet? And yeah, we'll just go from there.
I'm so happy to be here. Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me on What Worked. This is very exciting. Just a little bit about me. My name is Michelle Dulake. I'm a veterinarian. I've been a vet for 11 years now. And I started a pet supplement line that provides a holistic approach to each body system. And we use Eastern and Western ingredients to improve the overall well-being and longevity of pets. So that's a little bit about Fera Pets. But we can get into the story, the longer story, if you guys
Yeah.
want.
That's what we're here
No,
for.
we definitely want to get into the longer story. We'll start there. It's kind of crazy. I have to remind myself that I feel like since I've known you, since I really started to get to know you, that was right around the time when you probably started the company, pretty close. So yeah, I don't know. I always think of you as Christine's friend, Michelle, who's a veterinarian, but then you kind of became this business owner and all that jazz. So let's start at the very beginning. How did you decide to become a vet besides your love for dogs?
Yeah, so I've always had this love of animals. And when I was a little girl, obviously I would always want to go pet dogs. I'd be on walks with my parents, and there'd be like a Rottweiler or a German Shepherd barking its head off at me, and I just would still want to go up to it and pet it. My parents would have to hold me back. So I've always had a passion for animals and just wanting to be around them and help them. And even in my fifth grade yearbook, I wrote that I wanted to be an animal doctor. So that passion has kind of always been there. And then growing up in high school, I volunteered at animal shelters, worked at vet hospitals to gain more experience. And then I got into UC Davis, which was my dream school at the time because, I could major in animal science and it would bring me closer to starting my veterinary career. And so becoming a vet is actually a lot harder than people think because there are fewer vet schools in the US than medical schools. And so there's actually a current shortage of veterinarians. So if you try to get a vet like appointment, I don't know if you have a dog, and it's very hard to get vet appointments because there's
Very
just a
hard.
shortage. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there is a big mental health problem in the vet community right now, just because, we have these patients that they can't talk to us. So we have to really do a thorough physical exam. We also have to do diagnostics. But I felt like most of my job was convincing people to spend money on their pet to do these diagnostics. But pet owners have this idea that that's just like charge a lot of money, and they shouldn't be spending that much money on their pet. So that's always a struggle because you go into vet medicine thinking you want to help pets, not thinking about the human aspect of it and having to convince people to do these things. So I think there's a part of that that's hard for vets. And then also, like, we have to euthanize pets, which is like not easy. And then on top of euthanizing them, we have to be like a therapist to the families. So anyways, there's a lot that goes on behind being a veterinarian that people like kind of don't think about. So anyways, I graduated from UC Davis. I got into vet school at Western University in Southern California. And then after that, I did a 1-year internship at VCA West LA, which is the biggest vet hospital on the West Coast. An internship's kind of like boot camp for vets. I spent like 100 hours a week working, doing ER shifts. It was a crazy time, but I learned a lot during that time. And then I ended up going into private practice, which led me to the Valley in Sherman Oaks. And I worked 4 days a week, and I actually quickly got bored of just being a vet for 4 days and off for 3 days, which just shows like my personality. I just kind of always want to keep going. I didn't have any kids at this time. So I, talked to my boss and I said, I want to do more. I want to learn more about holistic medicine, and I want to get my acupuncture license. And so he agreed to actually fund that. So I got my acupuncture license at Colorado State University, which then opened my eyes to a whole other world of, Eastern medicine therapies that have been used for centuries, especially in Asia. And so while doing acupuncture on dogs and cats, which is a very LA thing, but while doing acupuncture, a lot of those pet owners would ask me for herbs to do in conjunction with the acupuncture that I was doing. And I had been thinking about starting a side hustle for a while. And I considered like various ideas. Like one of them was an accessory line using hemp material, which why is a vet starting a pet accessory line? Like that's the stupid idea. But
yeah, why not? What was the worst idea? Well, give us the worst idea that you worked on.
I actually like me and my partner, who I will talk about a lot, we looked at starting a dog cafe or a cat cafe. We went to like different places to rent, and then we're just trying to think like, what is the most that we can do? What is the least that we can do that will give us the most passive income? That's literally we were thinking.
Yeah, you were working. Yeah, you had a job.
I think this was. Yeah, well, and also I think you just figured out entrepreneurship. It was pretty much like you just described it in a nutshell.
That's the.
Yeah, so we just kind of like bounced around ideas, and then obviously having this holistic background. And then I went to lunch with a friend who was like, well, you guys should just start the supplement company yourself. And so we kind of got the courage to do that. And obviously subscription-based companies it's the way to go. And so we just decided, me and my friend, Emily, we've been friends for 25 years. She was actually doing logistics at a pet bed company. And so she kind of had already been in the pet space, and we've been talking about doing something together for a long time. And so after kind of deciding on, okay, let's really focus and do pet supplements, we decided to go for it. We started an LLC, and we started attending pet trade shows, learning more about manufacturing, ingredients, and like just learning the competitor space. And then we launched Fera in 2017. Both of us still were working our daytime jobs, and which was kind of hard to do. And actually, at that time, I think I was just pregnant, so I didn't have Scarlett yet, my first kid. But we decided to basically launch on our own D2C site and Amazon. That's kind of, and you can go on different softwares and like Jungle Scout and see like, wow, that supplement is making X amount of money monthly. Like, let's try to do that and just see if we can do that. Not realizing that it would lead us to create a whole brand that would take up 150% of our time to where we are now. But that's kind of what we went into, thinking like, let's just have this product on Amazon and just let it sell and see where it goes. So that's kind of how we started.
That's amazing. And I want to expand on a key part that you just talked about. You talked about this lunch, which, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, was that lunch with Mike Zhang?
It was.
Okay, so we have here just a beautiful mutual. This is like we should definitely clip this and just praise Mike Zhang here for a second, because he gave you some incredible advice. And a lot of people don't know this about Higher Frame, but Higher Frame largely started also based off of our relationship with Mike Zhang, who's been just an incredible supporter of ours, and essentially
customer.
And customer. So this for Higher Frame. People don't know that we literally got our start because Mike came to us and he was asking to hire some staff for the company that he was building at the time, Good Money. And he said, hey, guys, I'm looking to do this. And I know you guys have expertise. And And can you think of any partners over in like the Philippines or wherever to get the staff? And we said, hey, we were kind of like needing basically to do something that earned some type of income. We're like, we'll do it for you, and here's what it looked like. So that's the beginning of Hire Frame. But that's so cool that you had that lunch. How did that feel in that moment when he gave you that feedback? Because you were thinking about like hemp collars and that sort of thing. Were you kind of like defensive, or did you really, were you like very open to his feedback?
Yeah, I think we actually had been meeting with Mike and Andrew Sai for a couple meetings just because they had built a company and I was just really looking up to them as entrepreneurs to learn from them. And obviously I wanted to get other entrepreneurs feedback before starting this company. And so I think it was just really, I took it as a positive feedback, like, hey, you're a vet, you should definitely create a supplement brand that you can actually put your expertise into versus anyone can build an accessory line or have a pet cafe or whatever. So I think it just solidified that like this is what we're going to do and this makes sense. And so it was just really great to have another entrepreneur mind like give their feedback and approval. So it
Totally.
was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And then you mentioned that you guys started this really as kind of like a side hustle, but you said it eventually took up 150% of your time. What was the in
Yeah.
between? Like, how did you guys go from, hey, this is a fun way to make a little bit of extra cash. I'm going to still be a vet. Emily's still going to do what was Emily doing at the time?
She was working for a pet bed company, and then
Okay.
also she opened a restaurant with her now ex-husband. So she was
Oh,
very busy
wow.
doing many other things.
Yeah.
Totally.
But that
Yeah.
but that also gave her the experience to start another business, right? So
Yes.
but yes, we were very busy. I would say in the beginning, I'm a vet. I don't know how to market things. Like I don't know how to get the word out about a pet supplement. So it was interesting because I got a puppy in 2014. Her name is Pippa. Pippa, she's the best dog. Now she's 10, but I actually started a dog Instagram account for her back in 2014. Okay, what that lesson taught me was I learned how dog influencers thought because I was trying to be a dog influencer for Pippa. So that actually plays into the marketing because I used her account to spread the word, to get other dog accounts to try it. And then, like, slowly more and more people would post about it, saying that they love the product, they love the quality. And so I was like, people are really looking for a holistic solution for their pets. So when we launched this first product, it was a hip and joint soft chew, which we thought you need a hip and joint product to get into the pet space. That's what everybody makes. Every dog has arthritis issues, joint issues. And so we started with that product. And then I soon realized that I actually didn't like the inactive ingredients in a soft chew because you need inactive ingredients that are not the best to like mold it together and keep it together. And so we shifted our entire portfolio to be as clean as possible, focusing on mainly powders and oils. So you didn't have to have inactive ingredients. And so our next product, which is our hero product now, it's an organic prebiotic and probiotic powder for gut health. It's flavorless and it's actually for dogs and cats, which expanded our ability to market it to a broader audience. And so I would say, like, at that time, there's no single event that made our product kind of go viral on Amazon, but it did. Our powder became way more successful than our hip and joint, and it's probably attributed to like just like higher quality ingredients, doing more brand awareness, gifting on social media, having a halo effect, and just starting ads on Amazon. And so I think people were just looking for a clean, organic, powder-based approach, and that really resonated with customers since there weren't that many products out there. So then as the product portfolio expanded, I just basically formulated everything from what I saw in vet clinics with a lot of intention. So the next big problem that people come in, skin and coat issues. So I created a fish oil omega-3. And then people come in for cardiac issues, heart murmurs, and then I created a cardiac supplement. So every product that I made was made with intention and care. And then, which I still look back and I'm like, how did we launch all these products while having another job? Like, it's really crazy. But anyways,
Yeah.
That,
yeah. And then in 2020, when 2020 hit, I actually previously went through a miscarriage right before COVID. And so I really wanted to have another baby. So this was for my second kid. And when I found out I was pregnant, we went into lockdown 2 weeks later. And I was an essential worker. And so I still had to go into the vet clinic and work. And I remember I went in and everybody's freaking out about COVID. And a pet owner coughs in my face. And I'm like, and I just found out I was pregnant and I was obviously very anxious about losing the baby again. So I was like, nope, I'm out. I'm gonna go take a break while I'm pregnant, work on Fera full time. And you know, we knew that there was something just because we were growing pretty quickly, not even putting 100% effort into it. And so this kind of marked, in my mind, the real beginning of Fera was in 2020 when we both quit our daytime jobs and like focused 100% on Fera. And you know, we bootstrapped the company from the beginning. We only put a little bit of cash in at the beginning, but we reinvested everything and we put that into new products, inventory, marketing. And so we started with humble beginnings with like Emily's mom actually doing all of our fulfillment and shipping in her garage to like now, you know, obviously we have 3PL and things like that, but it's just really cool to see like where we started and now where we are. So that's kind of when we shifted to really go all in.
That's incredible. Shout out Emily's mom, by the way. That's the OG first employee. Hopefully, you know, you guys hooked her up with something.
Employee.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know Mike's got a question, but I did want to highlight a really awesome thing that you maybe unintentionally just talked about. People talk about how do I start a business and how do I get a big idea, right? And I think the thing that you did, you tell me if you feel like this is accurate, but you were a part of the community. You know, I think that's like a key part of your success is whether you were a vet, you were actively searching for, these different kind of treatments, whether it's like acupuncture or whatever it might be, or different Eastern, Western medicine. And then you're also doing the dog influencer thing. And I think that's really, really important because you were basically getting a very, very good understanding of who your customer was and where the opportunities were in the market. But I can also relate to when people ask me about how we ended up where we ended up, I just kind of am like, I don't know. It feels like this just, I've like barf thousands of decisions made over years where it's like, people are like, well, why'd you do that thing? And I'm like, because we literally were trying the other thing and it wasn't working. So I had to just do something else. But people, when they talk about things like later on, they kind of wax philosophically where they're like, you know what? I always had this idea and I always knew exactly. I'm like, no, you didn't. So I think that's pretty cool. You're part of the community. I think that's a huge part of your success.
Yeah, I think, Tyler, you mentioned like just making a bunch of these decisions and then just following kind of like what's working and what's not working. I think it comes back to like the feedback loops. Like we mentioned Mike earlier on the call, like he was one of our first customers. And what was unique about having like a close friend as one of your first customers? It's like there's pros and cons to that, obviously. But one of the best parts about that is that he gave us like really honest feedback early on about like what was good about the service, what could be better, and that sort of thing. And Michelle, it sounds like you did something similar. One of the ways you kind of shortened your feedback loops was becoming the customer, becoming one of your distribution partners by setting up your influencer account, your doggy account, whether you knew it or not. But like that was really cool because like you got in the seat of the customer essentially and one of your kind of other stakeholders in your ecosystem. And you learned and you increased, you had that feedback loop. And you seem like very analytical because you talked about, you did this one product, it didn't feel right, or you didn't want to do that anymore. You changed it. You went through a couple, it sounds like significant pivots between starting and then going full time. I'm curious, and you mentioned you did this bootstrap. When I hear physical products, all I hear is like dollar signs going out the door. And so, inventory, R&D, right? Like, let's not gloss over the fact that you were creating supplements for the first time ever, I imagine, right? So this, while you are a vet, you're doing a lot of stuff for the first time. So that sounds to me like expensive R&D, lots of iterations. Yes. Can you walk us through what was that like from like a capital standpoint? Where were your big investments? How do you even start building like consumables?
I mean, I went to a lot of different trade shows, human side and pet side, and I learned a lot about like how you actually formulate just by going there and meeting different suppliers and meeting different manufacturers. I think a lot of it was actually more time spent, like going there, formulating on calls, things like that. But the actual like R&D, like the capital to start it, it was very minimal to what we are now, like very minimal. So, and we just, I mean, me and Emily did not pay ourselves for the first couple of years. I mean, we had other jobs, so that also helped, right? And anything that we made, we just put back in. And so I think the only capital was for the purchase order. That was really it. I mean, yes, on flights and things like that, but it was mainly time, and every product takes me about a year from ideation to actually launching. It's about a year, just because have to put I research the ingredients that I want. I find the dosings that is accurate for dogs and cats. And then, I reach out to the manufacturer. I get the quotes. Is it possible to make this formula? Okay. Then I get samples. Is it palatable? Is it safe? And then, so I go through many different rounds of revisions for the formulas. But I really try to focus on what's working in the human space, because obviously if you are buying a mushroom supplement for yourself, you are more likely to buy a mushroom supplement for your dog. So I really try to follow what is happening on the human side. So that's why I do attend human trade shows to see what ingredients there are, what trademark ingredients, what clinical studies are behind those ingredients, and then try to transfer that over to the pet space, because humanization of pets is only going to increase. People are having kids less. People are buying pets, paying more for their pets more than even themselves. So I think that it's just important. I always just follow what's happening on the human side. And
Are you saying that the dog cafe has never been a better idea then?
Yeah.
I mean, there are some clubs now in LA where it's just for dogs. I'm not going to put their name out there because I'm not a sponsor for them, but like I think they're doing pretty well. So it's not a bad idea now, I feel like, to have like a high-end club.
There's a spot near us where it's like you pay like a membership for like effectively a private dog park. And this place is popping. It is Soho House for dogs.
Yes, it is.
So still a good idea. And Michelle, still time.
Still time.
I was going to say, how would you, I tend to put probably entrepreneurs into kind of three buckets, three kind of call it like entrepreneur labels, right? There's your, product builders, right? Like they're idea people, inventors. There's going to be your operators, people that are really, they're really into team building and operations and efficiency. And then the last one is, people that are just at their heart of hearts, they're sales and marketing people. They're really great marketers. How would you characterize yourself if you were to only pick one?
I mean, I can't. I mean, I am the inventor and the marketer, and Emily is the operations. So like we kind of cover it all.
Sure.
But I would say at the heart of it, it was the inventor side of me. I really just wanted to.
Guess too,
yeah, I'm really passionate about. If I could only do that now, I would be happy doing that.
Right.
And I have expressed that to my now boss. So they know that is like my true passion, is creating, innovating new products, which is great. They need someone to be passionate about that.
And Michelle, is that something you always knew, or you more recently discovered through Fera and the venture?
I only realized that through the first process of making my first product. I was like, this is so much fun. And it's actually like a creative outlet for me, because I have that scientific background, but I can use that to create something. So it's like that outlet. I loved it. I still love it. So I definitely learned it through starting Fera.
No, that's awesome. I think like starting a business, you can learn a lot about yourself. I know Tyler and I have, and I think you're hitting on a point that we kind of learn the lesson sometimes the hard way, which is that you got to find things that you really enjoy doing to carry on this marathon. So if you're doing stuff you don't like to do, you're not going to make it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say, speaking of, kind of learning a lot about yourself and then also each other, I want to talk about your relationship with, Emily, your co-founder. Mike and I, oftentimes when people ask me about the thing I'm most proud about with HireFrame, it's really my relationship with Mike and how we've worked really, really hard. And I liken it to truly, it's a marriage. It's as close to a marriage as, you can be without being a marriage. But it takes just like a a good marriage, it takes like serious work. So I'm kind of curious, over the years, how did you guys manage that relationship? Did you ever hit any bumps in the road? How did you get through that and still preserve your relationship throughout the entire experience?
Me and Emily, we've known each other for 25 years now. We met in high school. We were in different girl groups. I would say that I was in the good girl group and she was in the bad girl group. So we actually didn't really overlap, but we overlapped enough. Like we were in orchestra together, we were in student body together, and that's where we really became close, was student council senior year. And then we kind of just always kept in touch, really with our love of animals. She actually got a puppy. I was working at a vet clinic in college and she brought her dog to me and I helped neuter that dog. And so that's we just always kind of stayed in touch. I think it did help that we weren't like best friends, but we were like pretty good friends, that we were able to still work through issues. Because if you're working with your best friend, that's hard. I wouldn't want to live with my best friend. I wouldn't want, like, it's like too much. But she was a close enough friend where we could really work together, and we are very different people. So I'm a very type A person and she's a very type B person. And so we definitely get frustrated with each other, but we also work very well together. I don't think having two type A or two type B personalities would work well in the long term. So I have learned a lot about managing people over the last 7 years, and it's been really hard for me to let go of tasks and not knowing everything and not micromanaging. But I think the biggest thing that we have had disagreements on, and this is going to be really funny, I think you guys will be like, that has never come up with us before, but it's it's actually me having to take the role of traveling more because she doesn't have the extra help. She is a single mom, which I give her so much credit for. It's incredibly difficult. So I think I just started to grow a little bit of resentment because all the travel kind of started to fall on me. And
Sure.
so after a while I was like, how come, like, I want to spend more time with my kids too, but like that resentment started to grow. And I think and also like being a single mom, like I wanted her to have the extra help. It's too hard being a single mom and trying to like grow a business. And so we would have these discussions where I'm like, you need to hire a nanny, you need it. But then really at the time, like, it's not like we had all the funds.
Yeah.
I think we just had a lot of discussions around that. And so we had to work through that. And then also like she would get like frustrated with me because I'm really impatient. I want things like immediately done and I want everything in my mind is urgent. So like that's not good either. And so she would push back when I'd be micromanaging. And so there's just like a lot of different things that we had to work through the years. But one of the best things that we did as business partners is actually reach out to a like entrepreneur coach, like slash therapist. And, I'm a very vocal person. I like to talk about emotions and just like work through it, but she's not that way. She likes to like shut down and hold everything in. So I reached out to this executive coach and I said, we really need to work on our communication. And so we took time. We both did individual sessions, and then we came together and did like couples therapy kind of together to improve our communication. Because at the end of the day, like we both have the same goal. It's just like, how do we communicate that and work the best together? And honestly, we only did like 3 to 6 sessions together. I can't even remember now, but it was very helpful in our communication. And we both get back on the same page. We felt like we were a team again. And so I love therapy. I think that it's great for everyone. And I think if you have a co-founder, like, don't be shy to reach out to those coaches and therapists to really get back on track.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And I know you said that we can't maybe not relate to this one, but I actually think that we can relate to it. Definitely, I mean, you touched on a bunch of stuff there that made me want to talk about. That really hit a lot of chords there, which is great. Just on the note about, so I started, we started our family before Mike started his. Mike, congrats to Mike. Mike's got a 3-month-old, basically the same age as Cooper. Yes, so he's now going through a lot of the things that I went through when we had Rory. And what I would say is that it wasn't the exact same thing, but there's definitely a period of time where, just the intensity of having, effectively, a less than 1 year old, right? A baby. And all the things that I was going through, just in terms of like the crazy sleep and all these different things, there was a lot of times where a lot of the business workload and responsibilities would fall on Mike. And it definitely was an uneven kind of uh, workload share, if you will. And I always say that Mike's a far more mature person than I would be. I definitely would have been extremely resentful, and he was always very patient. But, you know, to touch on some of the things that you talked about, at the end of the day, almost all of our issues have always come down to communication. It's like, what is said and then what is perceived. That's at least the battle that I have in my mind, is a lot of times
Yeah, it's a lot of
Michael,
like how it's
how
said.
things are
It's not only like what,
communicated.
it's like how you
Yes.
say things. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And I certainly too, like, I'll just, say, just to air out our own kind of like dirty laundry for me, and not Mike's, but like me personally, even if Mike is not saying like, hey dude, I'm doing a lot more because you've got like a 1 year old or whatever it is, and this is unfair. In my head, I'm going around feeling extremely, there's this guilt that you carry, I think, as a parent entrepreneur, where you just feel like, the expression I always tell Mike is that when I'm at my lowest, I feel like I'm not doing a good job for anyone. It's like my wife's not happy with me, my kid is not happy with me, and my business is, I'm not giving enough to anyone. And those are like the worst moments. But a lot of times when I'm feeling that way, it's like Mike can say something very innocent, like, hey, dude, like, what's the status of this thing that we're working on? And I'll be like, what's the status? I get kind of like pissed off. And it's because, like, in my head there's a whole separate conversation that's going on where it's like, there's emotions, there's like, I've interpreted things a certain way, and he's like, I actually just wanted to know what the status was.
Right. Right.
So I can relate to a lot of that. And the therapist that's a great call out that, I think it's tough. Did you guys have a hard time spending the money on that though, at that stage in the business?
Well, at that time we had our first investor come on board. So it
Got
was
it.
it
Okay.
was okay. I felt like it was
Yeah.
okay to spend the money
Yeah.
It's a good
on
investment.
that, because
Cool.
it's vital to making the company grow. So, but I do want to say that I couldn't have done this without a co-founder that was a mom, because obviously same exact thing, like I would get pregnant, then I would give birth, and she would kind of take over for the first couple of months, and then we both had 2 kids during this time. So like it just ebbs and flows on who takes more responsibility at different times. And I just don't think, like, if I didn't have another mom, like, we wouldn't be able to understand the struggles of trying to be everywhere all at once for everyone. So it's definitely more advantageous to have, like, for me to have another co-founder that's a parent. But it does come with, some hard times, because you're working with someone who has kids. That means that there has to be more sacrifices, and there's not always 100% attention from both parties at all times. And so Emily and I always joke around that we would be like, how much more successful would we be if we didn't have kids, or we were men? I know that sounds really,
No,
or like
you
even
that's
fathers.
very fair. I think
Makes
just
total
like
sense. Yeah.
I think we're I think a lot of moms can relate to this, but I think dads and just guys in general, it's hard to think. I think about this a lot now
Yeah.
with my wife just giving birth, but like it's a years long of in and out of work if you're having 1 or 2 kids or more.
Yes.
It's like
Yeah.
you're bouncing back and forth between things for years. It's a crazy chapter of your life.
Yeah.
It can't be understated like how much goes into that and how challenging that is. One thing I was thinking about recently, Tyler and Michelle, is like going through like building a business and having your business partner and co-founder also like going from, no kids to having kids, and then just experiencing that chapter of life which is just such an interesting chapter together. Like it's nice to have your family with you, like your spouse or, with the family growing, but then it's a unique kind of blessing, I think, to have like a co-founder that's also, it's such a unique relationship. It's like another person that gets to experience that journey with you. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know if you feel this way too, Michelle, but it's like, to me, Mike occupies a singular, like, unique space in my life where it's like, when people say, who's your best friend? It's like, I wouldn't even put that label on him, but he's somehow like, he has access and privilege to like that a best friend would never get with me. He's like a truly family. It's like, and we talk about a lot of times with our kids. We're like, we joke, but we're pretty serious. We're like, can't wait till Rory's like sweeping the floors of like some, business that we have or whatever it is. And she's like our summer intern or whatever. And it's just this thing where he has a window into my life that no one else has, besides literally Christine. So it's this thing. And it makes me really sad. I'm amazed at the way you handled it with Emily. But it makes me really sad when I hear about co-founder breakups. I think that's really hard. You can tell when you talk to people about that. They're like heartbroken about it, just in the same way like you would through like a bad divorce.
I don't think that I could handle that. I mean, I don't think that me and Emily both wouldn't be here without each other. Like, I can't even imagine being a solo entrepreneur. It sounds so hard to not have that support. Like, I mean, and like you said, that was interesting that you said that you wouldn't even label him as a best friend, because like at General Mills, like they always say like, oh, the two best friends, whatever. But it's true. Like, I wouldn't even label her as a best friend, because it's so much more it's deeper in different ways. And like, she sees emotion from me that like no one else sees, not even James, my husband. Like, so it's just a different, like, yes, it's family, but it's just, oh man, there's nothing that will replace this friendship. And like, at the end of the day, it's going to end at some point, like, right?
Yeah.
It's going to end at some point. And so like, I can't even like think about that, because it's like so sad to think about.
Yeah,
totally.
Which is why we're like, keep going. Like, we're just going to keep going until the wheels fall off here, That's
it. And then it's on to the next venture. So we totally relate to that.
Yeah. And I do want to give a shout out to Emily, because being a single parent is very difficult. And she went through a difficult divorce during COVID. And I think we were very lucky to just have each other during that time, because not only were we there as friends, but like I had a better understanding of what she was going through with work. So I was just like, we just have a lot of empathy for each other.
Yeah.
And we're very understanding and supportive. So yes, big shout out to Emily. Love her.
Shout out to Emily. And
couldn't do it without her.
Emily, we hope you're listening. You should. This is your more than best friend talking on What Work podcast. I can relate to all that, and I do want to kind of switch gears a little bit, and we'll eventually talk about your other partner, your life partner, James.
My life partner.
Want to talk about his kind of influence on this whole thing, but so we've talked about General Mills a bunch, and you obviously headline here. You guys ended up selling to General Mills. But how the heck did you pull that off? And you also, I mean, this is quite you have quite the story. So I would love for you to tell it. And then also too, you mentioned this investor as well. So how did you find this silent investor that's so silent we don't even know who they are?
So like I said, when we went all in 2020, we, just ran it ourselves. But at some point you need more capital to really, market it more. So in 2021, we actually had a lot more investors reach out to us. And we're very lucky in the way that like a lot of things were inbound, like sales, distributors, a lot of things were inbound for us. So again, knowing that we were on the right path for a great brand. So investors would come talk to us. And luckily my husband, who we will probably talk about more later, he's in finance. And so he did private equity and iBanking. And so I would actually like forward him like all the investor calls, and he would just like take them first to screen them, like who's good, and so that was very valuable to have that. And so in 2021, there was a specific VC that we were interested in. And once they like got our financials and they were like, you guys are just a little bit too small. We thought you would be way bigger for your presence online. But like, you're just a little bit too small for us. But hey, I want to introduce you to this woman. She's fantastic. She's a solo investor and she's already in the pet space. So we feel she would be like the best match for you guys. So we met with her. It was great. She's so sweet, so supportive. Still love her. It didn't end so well when we sold, because she didn't want us to sell to General Mills, but still love her. She got us to a good place. And so with her capital, we were able to, increase marketing spend, hire a team, that was wild, hiring 4 people within a short couple months. And then we built a new website. And then eventually we attended our first trade show. So it was we got her in like May of 2022 and then had our first trade show in March of 2023. And then that's where General Mills has a venture arm group, 301 Inc. And they found us at Global Pet, which is in Orlando in March of 2023. And then basically they initiated conversations with us, and we thought they wanted a minority investment because that's what 301 Inc. does. And then they learned more about us, our values, mission, got financials, all that stuff. And then they were like, we are punting you to Gold Medal Ventures, which is their other arm that acquires 100%.
Wow.
And so everything happened very quick. Like me and Emily were not looking to sell. We were like, we just want to raise a little bit of money and,
because it happened pretty quick, like 2 years.
It's not like we needed the money to stay in business, which you would be in a worse position trying to find investors, but we just really needed the money to like thrive, I guess. And so they gave us an offer basically in May of 2023. And then James, he's always been supportive, insightful. He advised us on the offer. Obviously, I take his advice to heart, think very highly of him. And he was like, he was like, in this economic climate, like, you guys should just hear them out and seriously consider this offer. So then we continued the conversations. 2 months later, they gave us a letter of intent. Another month later, they presented a formal offer. And then August, September, October of last year was just all due diligence, which was so intense for our size company. I'm like, why? But it was General Mills. So they had to like scrape every freaking corner. Like they wanted to know everything. And so that went to the end of October, and then we closed in November. And I've been working for General Mills since November, and it's been really crazy. It's been a wild, wild ride. And
does that feel crazy? Does that feel crazy to even say that? Like you work for General Mills and you're, and they obviously are very focused on building this brand, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I still can't believe it. Sometimes I still have to like pinch myself. Like, how did this even happen? Because when you go into starting a business, I was definitely not thinking about selling to a brand, like a big corporation like this. Like, this is insane. I was just like, let's just start an Amazon supplement brand and see where it goes. Like,
totally.
So I think I'm still, processing the whole thing, but it's been really good.
What's it like, Michelle, at General Mills? Like, are you guys kind of running independently still? Have they brought you into the fold? What's that look like when General Mills acquires a company like yours?
And also, have you had any like funny big corporate moments where they're like, here, register for your like your employee now number 4016721 blah blah blah, like that jazz?
Yes. I mean, we had to get on Teams, which I haven't been on Teams. I have a whole General Mills XID. Like, there's all this stuff. I mean, it's been crazy, but I think the way that we work right now is, because we're under their venture arm, so there's Disruptive Growth, which is like a branch under General Mills, and they have 3 arms. The 301 Inc. is minority. The middle is Gold Medal Ventures, which is 100%. And then they have G-Works, which is where they hire co-founders within General Mills to try and build brands within
Incubate.
them. They're Incubate. Yeah. So those are the 3 arms that they have. And we run separately. Like, we are not getting integrated with in their pet category. So they own Blue Buffalo, which is billions of dollar company, dog food company. And eventually the goal is that we will roll up under them if we reach the goals that they want us to within 5 years or so. But right now we are working independently. So it's still CEO led. I do have resources to anybody that I want to talk to. But they have a group of people called Emerging Brands Center of Excellence. And there's like 12 to 15 people in this group, and they have a specialist on supply chain, specialist on marketing, specialist on retail. And so I get to pull from those people, and then they advise us on different things and help us move initiatives. But I think the most frustrating thing so far with working with them, like being like big corporation, is they're just slow. They're just slower than I am. Like, I used to, like, me and Emily would be like, should we do this? Think about it for like 3 minutes. All right, that seems like like we would just be able to move quicker. And now it's like, let's check with this person to talk about this thing and set up this meeting to prep for that meeting. It's just like, there's so many more meetings and people. So It's
Yeah.
just slower. Lots of
Nice.
PowerPoints.
On the flip side of that, is there like, are there things you're like, hey, this is like some big company stuff that we've actually like brought into Fera Pets. Like we like the way this gets done. This is extremely professional. Or that's something we want to work towards.
I mean, now that I have a boss and a board, we didn't have a fair like board meeting. So like
Yeah. So like board structure and
that's actually been really cool to learn. So we
Yeah.
have board meetings quarterly, obviously reporting on the previous quarter, but looking forward. And so we have a Fera coach. Shout out to her. Her name is Karen Peters. She's amazing. She really helps put together these board meetings and the PowerPoints and helps, me perfect my speaker notes and all that stuff. And so I think learning from her and just like the EBCO team has been great for me and my experience. And I need to learn this corporate stuff. Like I think it's super cool to have that experience and how quickly they can pull together PowerPoints, man. I am very impressed. Like even for a simple call, Karen will be like, I just made this quick PowerPoint. And I'm like, how did you create this in like an hour? Like it's just wild to me. I'm just very impressed.
Mike doesn't like when I make this joke because he doesn't think that it's truly fair to his character. But I always joke that Mike speaks in PowerPoints because of his like investment banking and like he has a very traditional business background, consulting, whatever it is. I'm like, PowerPoints is his love language. I used to put that in his about description on the website. Mike's like, can we take this off?
Michelle,
This is not me.
I would get like sales emails from people that are like, hey, Mike, I saw that PowerPoints are your love language. Would you like to buy the software? And I was like, all right, Tyler, we got to take this off now. This is.
I am looking forward to like full transformation corporate Michelle when you like come, to like me and the crew and you're like, hey guys, we should go to Vegas and like here's my 6-slide deck on like why Vegas is a good investment and blah blah blah.
Oh my god, I can't wait. Now that's a challenge. I'm going to take you up on that.
You got to do it. You just got to like pull us all next time we're over at your house for like some sort of get together. Be like, now that I've got your attention, if you guys could just look at the screen over here.
Tyler's 40th birthday party. We got to go to Vegas, hit these spots.
That's right. That's right. Some cool graphics. So that whole story is wild, and the timing's incredible too. So you guys really did time the market, I think, extremely well. You had James kind of advising you the whole way. I'm just in knowing you and also knowing James, obviously I've kind of got a personal relationship with both of you. I'm so interested in the dynamic there because I oftentimes think about, Christine and Mike's wife, Jess, they're basically the other co-founders, right? They're your business partners. That's how it works. I always tell people when they're going to start a business, I'm like, your spouse, they are your partner, whether you decide that or not. But how did those conversations go just in terms of his ability to be completely like give you just his like frank advice as someone who knows a lot about, finance. But also he's at the end of the day, like he's your husband, he's your life partner, and he knows how hard you work. He knows like, in you selling the business, you're not like selling it, just walking away. You're taking on this big corporate role. So I'm just kind of curious, like how those conversations went between the two of you. Was it ever, kind of like, not contentious is not the right word, but was it ever hard? Did you feel like you could always, just basically lean on him to kind of help you make those decisions? How was that?
Yeah, I think him having the background that he does have in investment banking and private equity, and now he works for a nonprofit foundation, I think I just value his opinion so much, especially when it comes to finance, because like he's the expert. Just like if there's any medical issues in our family, like he would value my opinion. So I think we really respect each other in our careers in that way. And like I'm trying to think back to like when we started Fera, like, and what his thought was. Like, was he like, why? Like, I don't really remember what it was, but he was like supportive from what I remember. It wasn't like he tried to push back or at all. But I think, because I ask him sometimes, I'm like, when did you know that like we actually had something and you were like excited for us? And he always just says like, every year you guys would, grow in triple digits. And like, you guys didn't even put that much money into it. And like, I think when we hit 1 million in revenue, he was like, and like, we still had our other daytime jobs. Like, he was just like, okay, maybe this is going to be something when you guys aren't even like putting 100% effort into it. And so I think I've always had his support from the beginning. And then obviously, like I said, like I would send him investor calls. When that started to pick up, I think he was like, wow, this could have a potential great outcome for you. And so he always looked at our financials from the very beginning, and he like the Excel sheets that he makes is like insane. I mean, like I could never make this Excel sheet. So having that from the very beginning and using that financial model for the last like 7 years and then showing that to investors, they're like, wow, like what? Like they would be like so happy that we had everything lined up by marketplace, by product,
cool.
you know, but like everything was already set up. And so I think he having him as a partner was very instrumental in us getting to where we are. And also he would sit in on every investor call. He would sit in on the first call. And actually our first meeting with General Mills in person, he was there. And it's a funny story because we didn't tell them that we were married. And so they came to this meeting in person, and like halfway through the meeting, I was like, "Oh yeah, by the way, we're married." And they were like, "What?" Like they were like so shocked.
So funny.
They were so shocked. They just thought that he was like our CFO, but like didn't pay himself, and they were like, "That's weird. Like, why is he not paying himself?"
They're like, "Man," they're like, "This girl's really convincing. She's getting people to join her company, and she's not paying them anything."
I know. You know, obviously having him was huge in getting the deal to move forward. But also it was just nice that he would see how hard I was working. And because he was integrated in some of those calls, he kind of knew the sequence, like he was in it and he was like invested in it. And so he would see me working at nighttime after we put the kids down. Like he would see me on all these meetings and stressed out. And like, I think as a partner that's not as involved, they'd be kind of like, what are you, like, why are you so stressed out? Or like, what are you so busy doing? But because he was like in it, he was so supportive throughout the whole thing. And like, yeah, I'm just so grateful that he was a part of that story. And like, it's like simple things like, you know, moms have a lot of mental, like we have a lot of mental tasks that we take on with kids, the home life, everything like that. And so there was one night I came home and I was just like, I can't make dinner. And like, you just need to take dinner over. And he was like, okay. And then like, he just started to take dinner over. And that was just like, it meant so much for him to just like take that from me and not give me like slack, like any like hard time about that. Cause he just knew how much I was doing. And like, even still to this day, it's been 8 months since, but he'll just like, you know, see me going to General Mills and doing a board meeting. He's like, I'm just so proud of you. Like, it's really crazy what you've done. And like to hear that from him, it just means a lot because he's seen a lot of transactions happen through private equity and things like that. And he'll always tell me like, do you know how many women entrepreneurs have made it to like where you are? And like, you should be so proud and like, blah, blah, blah. Like, he just makes me feel like very supportive. And yeah. So
go James.
Yeah.
Shout out James.
Shout out James.
Great team partner on this journey. And he's a great dad on top of that. So
yeah, that's all. I'm smiling the whole time. Mike is too. I mean, I think we both can definitely relate. Obviously, I don't know what Jess specifically does in support. I mean, I see it with her. She's constantly, we have this like text thread between us and our wives, and it's like we're showing them like, hey guys, like we just did this like LinkedIn post. Can you please like it? Yeah, what I'll say is that totally, like I think about just a recent thing with Christine, and it's just these little things that mean a lot. Is you know, the school was like Rory's preschool was closed, you know, for summer break, like 2 weeks. We did like a summer vacation thing. And then on top of that, leading up to it, and then as soon as she got back into school, as kids tend to do, she got sick, like sandwich, you know what I mean? Leading into break and whatever. So in other words, like over the course of probably 6 weeks, I probably worked like 4 actual work days. And what's just really cool is now just even doing this podcast, Christine was just like this week, she's like, you need to work. Like Rory got sick again, but she's like, we'll figure this out. I'll take both kids, which is insane. And she's like, you need to go to work. You need to do work, whatever it is. And I just know, especially, I'm sure you can put yourself in her shoes. Like Cooper is not even 4 months old. And that is cute. Like for a mom is going through so much, but just to be like completely willing to sacrifice, you know, for this dream that I'm chasing, this means so much to me. So I get it. Shout out Christine. Shout out Jess.
Christine.
Shout out James.
Jess and James, all the partners.
They're sticking with us.
They are.
Yeah. Mike, I feel like I've been dominating the questions. Do you have any other questions for Michelle?
No, I mean, I want to know kind of like, we talked about where you're at, what it's like at General Mills. We want to know, what are the plans like going forward?
The future for Fera, and then also I know that you want to see the Fera mission through, but do you ever think about what you would do life after Fera?
Okay, well, I guess I'll start first with what I see myself doing at General Mills. So I do want to stick around for a couple of years. Also, there is incentive payouts in the future, which can't get into, but like, I want to stick around and see how that plays out. But they do know that I like product development, like I said. And so I've kind of hinted at like becoming just like the chief medical officer and not really staying on as the CEO, because let's face it, I'm a vet. I'm not a CEO. I mean, I am a CEO, but like, I don't know. Sometimes you have that imposter syndrome. You're like, but I'm not really a CEO. I've never trained for this. I didn't go to business school. So it's like, I know that they can find other candidates to really take Fera to the next level. And I'm okay with being like a chief medical officer or like a brand ambassador doing educational content. Like they just want me to be like a vet, influencer and like make content and education. So that's kind of what I see myself transforming into over the next couple of years. But after, I don't honestly, I don't really know. And I probably shouldn't even say it in case one of them listens to this. No, but
General Mills, stop the episode over for anybody from General Mills, employee 61249 and above, turn it off. Just turn it off. Don't listen. Mute it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Me and Emily always talk about doing something together because we just like can't separate. So
we get that.
Whether it's in the pet space, I don't know if it's going to be in the pet space. I don't know. We've talked about real estate. I don't know. I don't really know. We talk about helping women entrepreneurs.
Sure.
Like, I don't really know what I'm going to do. And also, I might just take a little break after I am.
So fair.
and just be with my kids.
Now you're talking crazy. Now you're talking crazy. No breaks. No. I think all that is, anybody who is listening from General Mills, I mean, if you'd have to be completely ignorant to not think like someone, entrepreneurs live many lives, they chase many dreams, and that all makes a lot of sense. I had something, but Mike, you wanted to chime in something.
That's what I wanted to hear about. Just like what you want to do next. I think that's a very fair answer. I think taking a break is a good, very honest answer. I think what happens when you have the success that you've had, Michelle, like you've built so many skills and you've had so many experiences that you could take things in like so many different directions, right? You could advise, you could, with a higher chance of success, start a brand new business from scratch. You could invest, you could go into other industries. It's like a good problem to have.
Yes, it is. We always joke about, because since I have been like overseeing the marketing for Fera, and so I've interviewed so many agencies, like Amazon agencies, like Google and Meta, like so many. It's like, I wish I never could be on another like audit call or like what. But Emily always jokes, she's like, I feel like you could start your own Amazon agency just because of how deep I've been on Amazon. I would never do it, but like definitely just speaks to like the different amount of skills that I've had to like learn over the past 7 years. It's been insane. And going back to the break thing, I don't actually think I could take a break just because my personality would not allow it. Like, I think I would get bored pretty quickly.
I think that your own kind of like career path and the path with Fera, it's a very common one where it's like you're the idea person. You've basically along the way, you've taught yourself these business skills, because you had to, right? It's like when you're at a size of company you are, someone's got to learn it. Someone's got to do it. But then the joke that Mike and I always have is like, at some point, if you're lucky enough to build a business like Fera, you get to a place where the business people, air quotations, they start to come in and, eventually you hire some CEO. It's probably going to be like, no offense, James. It'll be like a James. You know what I mean? Someone's going to be like, hello, I speak in PowerPoints and like, spreadsheets, and the joke that I would say to Mike is I'm like, dude, if we ever get bought by a big company, they're totally going to keep you because you're going to be like their guy. And they're totally going to like stick me in like a closet somewhere. I'll be like, like of no use. And I always say that it'll like I get pre-sad about it, or I'm like pre-sad about like us getting broken up, because I could see like they'll be like, Mike's gonna be, you know, he'll be like GM of this division. Tyler, we have a desk for you on the marketing team. You'll be an entry level hire. So,
But
anyway,
they need the balance, you know, and I
I would
think
hope so. You never know.
they do. They, you know, I think that one of the biggest reasons why General Mills was interested in us, because we could tell the story and we were so authentic to like the story. We truly believe in like what we're making. We're very passionate about what we're making. And I think that when people are looking for those type of founders, they need that to keep the passion alive. And like as you grow
Yeah.
a team, you still need that passion. It's not like you can just
You need
hire
more
a
than
bunch
ever
of James.
when you're growing.
Yeah,
You need it more
exactly.
than ever. So
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't have a bunch of Jameses managing a team with like no, you need like the fun. Not saying James is not fun. James is very fun, but like
The flavor,
we
the
just need
energy.
flavor. Yeah, the flavor.
Yeah. Listen, we get it. But shout out James. You've got flavor too.
You do have flavor.
Yeah. Anyway, I was gonna say we always like to. This has been an incredible conversation. I'm sure that it's kind of incredible. One of the things that we didn't expect with this podcast is just the reactions that we tend to get. People say, I listened to your episode and like the timing was just right because I was going through this thing. My hope and guess is that there's going to be someone who's going to be listening to this episode who is maybe a mom or, you know, just a woman who is thinking about starting her own business. And so my question to you is, how do you prefer someone get in touch with you? If they wanted to reach out to you, you know, maybe to get your advice or talk to you about an idea or something like that, or just connect with you, what's your kind of preferred, you know, you're our first guest to have any Instagram presence. So maybe it's Instagram. Most of our guests are like LinkedIn, email, company email.
First of all, I am here for any women or moms that want to, you know, just pick my brain or want to get advice. Just like I got advice from different entrepreneurs before I started Fera, like I would love to be that for other women entrepreneurs. So I think the best way is probably LinkedIn, honestly. Shoot me a message on LinkedIn and say, I, you know, listened to the podcast on what worked. And I like love Tyler and Mike. If you put Tyler and Mike in there, then I will definitely pay attention.
Yeah, code Tyler and Mike, and you get a 15%
promo
discount.
Plug. Perfect.
So reach out on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Yeah, LinkedIn it is. But Michelle,
follow us. You can follow us on Instagram, Fera Pets, Facebook too, Fera Pets.
Follow, and if you've
follow
got
us and check us out.
I was gonna say check you out, but I mean, if you've got pets, you'd be silly not to buy the products. I mean, just all the things that you know, you mentioned, you know, earlier in terms of like gut and everything like that. Like everyone nowadays, the modern pet owner is kind of a crazy person. Just kidding. No, it's like truly.
Yeah.
Like, let's be real. This is an honest statement. Most pet owners, they value their pets more than they value maybe children.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, if you care about your pet, check out Fera. They have amazing products. Michelle does things the right way. And honestly, in supplements, you don't always hear that. She does. I know for a fact. And check her out. Check out Fera. Reach out if you've got an idea. Thank you, Michelle, for being on What Worked. This has been awesome.
Thank you so much for having me. You guys are great. Thank
You're
you.
great. All right.